Hey everybody, this is Todd Frazee, and this is the tutorial for the bearing bracket solid model development. Okay, this project, again, you want to start with the template that's given to you by Sierra College and have AutoCAD running. And again, this is another metric job, so we're going to start off by changing our units. Um, And I tend to just type the command in. It's a short one. And okay, so we're going to set up and start drawing the the view that has the greatest number of features in the front view. So we're going to rotate our world coordinate system to front. We're going to go back home and we're going to switch to user coordinate system of front so that we can work in the front view. Similar to the last project, I'm going to pick a feature that appears to be a datum, which is the large bore. It's a 28.57 to 28.52 reamed hole. So we want to center our model on that for X and Y. You don't have to, but that's a good anchor to radiate from. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to turn my grid on, which is off. And I'm going to start off by drawing a circle to define the major diameter of the boss that the large reamed hole is in. So and again I'm going to put 0, comma 0, comma 0. Oops. As our origin. And we're going to switch the diameters by pressing D. And our diameter on that feature is, looks like it's 46 millimeters. Okay, so we have our 46 millimeter circle. And we can use these two lines for a whole lot of layout. The overall height of our part from the center of the bore to the base of the bracket is 113 inches. So we're going to use offset and we're going to specify 133 millimeters. Yeah, that gives us better scale of things. And then our width based off center line is 70. So we're going to divide 70 by half and just 35. Now I'm going to extend. I'm going to extend the two lines I can, and then I'm going to make a kind of bogus line over here just so that I can extend the just so I can extend this third line, and that'll allow me to extend the line that's going to make up the width of the base. Alright, let's switch the trim and trim off those two items, and we'll go ahead and delete the extra line there. All right, so from the base, our base height is 11 millimeters. So we're going to put in 11 millimeters and offset from the bottom for the thickness of our base. Okay, so then we can go ahead and trim off those features. Now we want to make our tapered sides for the upper web. And so we're going to use the line command, but we need to change our OSNAP settings. We're going to avoid the center because we want to pick up on a tangent. And you want at least intersection highlighted. I'm also going to deselect midpoint. I don't want to accidentally get the midpoint of something I don't want to use. And then we'll turn the object snaps on. We're going to go from the corner and turn ortho off and hover again until you see the tangency symbol show up, and then click. I'm going to restart the line command, go from the endpoint, and then hover until you see that tangency point. Okay, so in this instance, it's very similar to the last bracket we just did. We have a rectangle here that can define an extrusion that comes out of the page. So we make the base, and then we have a flange here. Now the strategy I'm going to try to take on this is to build half the part and then mirror it. And then there'll be one last feature to add on top, which is a boss feature that will be at the very top of the part, which will be one of the features put on at the very end. Alright, so now we want to make, we want to trim the base of the circle back. And you want to make sure you zoom in here because there's a little tail of tangency there. Okay, and we're going to make our regions now. So we're going to draw region and select the 4 lines that make up the first extrusion. Accept those. Now we need to draw another line so we can make a separate region using the second line. And we want to select the tapered lines and the arc. So there's our 2 regions. And because I intend to mirror this, we're going to take, and these extrusions are going to be half what they are called on the drawing. Half the distance. Okay, let's start with the first one. It's going to be, we're going to extrude out the larger region, the tapered one, and the overall thickness is 8 millimeters, so we're going to extrude it 4. And remember to go to a 3-dimensional view so you can actually see how much you're doing it. So it's going to be 4. And I'll quickly go to shaded mode so you can see we got a 4 millimeter thick plate here. Okay, so we're going to go back to wireframe. And then our second extrude is going to be the rectangle. If I can select on it. So we have our rectangle, and the overall width in that direction is 84 millimeters, so we're going to go 42. Alright. So now we have 2 bodies, and with those bodies we want to join them together. So we're going to use the solid union command, and we're going to pick our 2 bodies and hit enter, which joins them to make them one with each other. Okay, so I haven't saved yet, but make sure you save often. Okay, so the next feature we would like to make is We're going to go ahead and make half of the boss that the bore goes through. And so we're going to go back to object snaps because this time we do want to use center. So we're going to snap to center. And we're going to create a circle. And that circle, I want it to be centered. And then we're going to pick the tangency endpoint that'll set the diameter. I'm going to save. And now we're going to extrude the circle. Now the height on that, the overall width is 34. But we need to subtract, we need to divide that in half. And we need to subtract 4 from it. So half of that would be 17, and then we'd subtract 4 from it, which give us 13. So we're going to make our boss 13 millimeters tall. Alright, let's go ahead and join those objects. So we're going to join the boss with the rest of the body. Okay. Let's take a quick look at this in shaded mode, make sure that we're doing what we think we are. So we have the large boss feature, we have the base plate, and we have this half of the vertical rib. Yeah, so we're going to go back to wireframe. Now we're going to develop the geometry for the rib. Now there are several ways we can make the rib. I'm leaning towards making it the same way you did in the last project, and the reason being is it's intersecting an arced surface. So we could extrude it from the side, but then we make a not so clean extrusion that will interfere here. So we're going to keep working in the current view, and we're going to start by drawing a line, and we're going to use the midpoint command on the object snap so we can pick up the center of the base, and then we want to go past and go to the center of the arc. Now if we want to be thorough, we really could turn on ortho to make sure that we are all 90 degrees in the same plane. So the line we're working with is the one that's in the plane of the face of the model. Okay, we will then take and we're going to offset the said line by 8 millimeters per total. So we need to go 4 millimeters per side. Which defines the width of our rib. Okay, so we're going to do a center radius circle. And I'm going to rotate the view so I can see the end of the line. Now, the end of the center line was in the same center as the origin. I pick a tangency point. And this will allow us to then trim off the line segments we need, and we're actually going to trim off the circle we just created so that we're left with a little arc in the center. And we'll go down and we need to connect the end of our rib. Okay, at this point let's exit out and we can then delete the center line we used for construction initially. Now what we need to do is we need to create a region out of the line segments and the single arc at the top. And that will allow us to extrude that piece. And it's going to extrude up 10 millimeters from the face, so it'd be 10 millimeters. Okay, so we have a beginning of a rib there. Let's look at this in shaded view so you can see what's going on here. So we have our rib. Okay, so we're going to take, and now we're going to make a union between that new rib and the rest of the body, making it one. Now let's see if our fillet edge will work on this. We're going to pick the fillet edge and we're going to put in a radius of 32. And it generated it. It looks like it ran off tangency a little bit, but it did it. Okay, now would be an excellent time to save. Now we have most of the features here we need for mirroring purposes. So we need to add one more boss over here on the left, circular boss. And we're going to use our sketch offset lines to locate that. So let's go back to home, and we're going to go back to wireframe mode. The dimensions from center of the part, 14 millimeters. To the left, and then that intersects with an arc. So I'm going to draw actually a circle, but it's a circle that has a radius of 81 millimeters. So at that intersection is where our boss feature is going to go. So we're going to make a circle, and we want it to pick up the intersection, and we're going to switch the diameters, and it is a 29 diameter boss feature. Okay, so at this point I'm going to delete our construction lines because they're getting in the way. And we're going to do an extrude on the said circle, and it is going to extrude the opposite direction. It looks like it's 17 millimeters on the side that we're working on. So we'll need to remember that because the overall dimension is 33. So that boss is not symmetrical like the other portions of the model. Okay, so now let's join our objects. We're going to join this to the main body. Alright. And let's shade this so we can see what's going on. Alright, so we've got all our main features, and except for holes, and the boss feature that goes on the top, which has to go on last. So the fillets are going to get tricky. Let's see how we do. We may have to do this more than one time. But the strategy is going to make the vertical fillets first, what's vertical in this view, as we're looking straight down at it first, and then we'll come back and make the rest of them. So we're going to go to solid, we're going to use the fillet command, we're going to set our fillet as radius as 3, and we're going to select edges. So that edge, that edge, edge. That edge. The edge here, and the edge here. I'm going to call that done at first and see what we get. It looks like all of those successfully went in. So we definitely want to save in case we crash or something like that, or at least we're at this stage. This is the end of the part 1 tutorial. Please continue with bearing bracket model tutorial part 2.